Welcome to the Roots of the LMHE Podcast, to amplify the voices of Louisiana's music community and culture leaders while exploring how heritage, creativity, and economic equity intersect. Today we have our guest is Mr. Louis Michot. I said that right?
Yeah,
Oh no.
that's fine. Louis Michot, that's it.
Go ahead, you say it.
Louis Michot
Oh, okay, Louis Michot. All right. I was getting nervous.
in English.
In English and in French.
Louis Michot.
Perfect. Well, welcome and thank you for coming.
Glad to be here.
So, we brought today, we are doing this podcast, and we have a couple of different reasons why we've been doing it. We were trying to shine light on the music community and the cultural community, and for the Louisiana Music and Heritage Experience, the museum that we are building here. And so I'm going to, pick your brain about, a couple of things in the music industry and some cultural questions. But I'm first going to ask you, where are you from and how did you get started?
So I'm from Lafayette. Grew up in the Broussard side of Lafayette. Went to school and church and all that in Broussard. Lived in between Lafayette and Broussard, which they call Pilet, which leads to how I got started because my dad and them have a Cajun band called Les Frères Michot, the Michot brothers. And their first album was called Élevé à Pilet, means raised in Pilet. And my grandpa, also a Louis Michot, he started the first drive-in theater in that region, and he bought 8 acres on 182 on Pinhook and started drive-in theater. And they used to have Cajun bands that would play before the movies, and my dad and them would take the tickets, and it was like in the 50s, and they had, it was the whole drive-in theater scene. And so that's where my dad and them were raised, and I was raised just a few miles from there. And my dad and them started a Cajun band in the 80s because, they didn't grow up speaking French, and they learned on their own because my grandpa didn't grow up speaking French because his dad was an educator, a teacher, and he raised them in Mamou. He was from Avoyelles Parish, and he raised them in Mamou. And they were some of the only people in Mamou that didn't speak French because he and his wife, my great-grandparents, were the teachers. Okay. They taught at all the little schools around there, and they were the ones that enforced the new law that was only English in schools. So at the same time, they passed that on to their children. He was in World War I, my great-grandpa, Louis Michot, and he was the ag teacher, the vice principal of Mamou, and his wife taught all those schools there. And so as he was keeping it only English in schools and was part of the Americanization movement, he didn't teach French to his children. Then my grandpa, Louis Michot, ended up becoming the superintendent of education for the state, even though he didn't even barely go to college. He ran the whole education for the state on a vote. And then he signed in Codafil. So he brought French back. When he was the superintendent of education, he signed in Codafil with Jimmy DiMaggio. And then my dad and them learned French on their own. Wow. Started a Cajun band in the 1980s. And by the time it feels like so much longer, but time becomes so short when you get older.
Yeah.
and it's like 10 years later, I was in the band. Okay. So I was 15 years old, and it was 5 brothers. They were a family of 10, and 5 brothers played in the band at one time. And Uncle Bobby and Uncle David, Uncle Bobby spent a lot of time in France, and Uncle David was with them at one point, and so they needed a stand-up bass player. My brother Andre had already taken Bobby's place on guitar while he was out of town, and then I took Uncle David's place when I was 15 on stand-up bass. Wow. And I played guitar before that, but and I'd been going to their gigs since I was little and would dance with my cousins and go to the street festivals and all that. But he said, hey, we need a bass player. And basically got thrown on stage with a tiny little rehearsal at the house. Here's the G, here's the C. All right. And then we have this trick where they'd show us the chord. We have this family trick of how to play with someone who's never played the music or the songs by showing them the chords while we're playing, and I had to watch the
Wow.
entire time until I figured learn the songs, and like and a few hundred songs later, felt like I had it. So
Wow.
that's how I got started playing the music.
What made them want to start speaking French again?
That's a great question. Since I wasn't there, don't exactly know, but I know they all played music. I mean, all the Michos have played music for a long time. As far as we know, I don't know past my great grandpa who did. Well,
Hmm.
his mama did. So my
Hmm.
great great grandma was an accordion player.
Oh, wow.
My great grandpa Louis Michot was played all kind of instruments. They played more of like I said, kind of like Americanization was happening.
Hmm.
They went from French. His mama, my great great grandma, played French music on the
Right.
accordion, and then they started playing more American music,
Mm.
kind of the same movement. Probably a lot was happening right now.
Yeah.
It's like, well, do you want to assimilate and be part of the norm and be accepted
Hmm.
and not discriminated against?
Yeah.
Or do you want to hold on to your culture and face the repercussions that come with it?
Right.
And so many people, like at the time, couldn't even go to the bathroom at class because they didn't know how to ask, and the teachers wouldn't let them. And the results were,
Yeah.
very embarrassing.
Right.
And that's just one example.
Hmm.
And as much as we love and celebrate the culture now, it wasn't like that 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And so when my dad and them came up, music had been their family. All their dad, my grandpa also
Hmm.
played accordion, accordion, piano. They played guitars and banjos, and they had big bands. And one of my great uncles played with him and Huey Long. He was Huey Long's personal musician
Wow.
and toured with him, and they wrote the LSU fight song together. Forrest Michaud de Queer from
Wow.
Avoyelles Parish, and so they all played all kind of music,
Yeah.
and still like me and my cousins, like I've played a lot of different musics. My cousins, we have everything from death metal and heavy metal and sludge metal to opera and Christian music, and rock and roll and blues and Cajun music and all that, and all kind of music's in the family, and
Right.
it's always been like that. So when my dad and them were coming up, they were playing some folk music,
Hmm.
and I think Uncle Rick, who's the oldest, and he still plays. They still play multiple times a week. He's in his late 70s,
Wow.
and they all play music all the time
That's
still.
amazing.
And so I think he started playing some Cajun music, and then my dad started playing harmonica with him,
Hmm.
which is the same as accordion. Then he started learning accordion, and then they started a band. So it's
Wow.
just kind of a natural flow. It's like I think it's like that in so many cases. I mean, I was lucky enough to learn from them,
Right.
but so many people that play Cajun music, some of them learn from someone, but so many times it's either you learn from someone else or someone else needs a musician and you
Hmm.
end up in the band.
Right.
All the Ramblers, like we have 20 new Cajun musicians just because of people that we needed to play with the Lost Bayou Ramblers. They never played Cajun music. They're from Lafayette. They're from the surrounding areas.
Hmm.
But hey, you play guitar? Come play in the band.
Right.
What happened to me? Hey, we need a stand-up bass player. I was playing like rock and grunge and blues and stuff, and
Hmm.
then all of a sudden I'm playing Cajun music.
So when you say playing Cajun music, what does that mean?
Cajun music, uh, and in Le Frère Michaud style, the ultra traditional Cajun music,
Hmm.
like the most traditional that anyone. I still don't even know a band that's as traditional as them
Hmm.
because they had it in their minds like, okay, well, coming from the folk background too,
Hmm.
it was stand up bass, acoustic guitar, triangle, accordion, and fiddle. And that five piece, like solid rhythm, no drums, no electric, no anything, all acoustic and super solid.
Hmm.
And like the rhythm of the triangle to me is the root. So to me, growing up in Lafayette, I'm sure other Cajun musicians that grew up in other bands, like, you know, oh, they have the piano. Like no one else has the piano except like a few bands out there.
Right.
But to them, that's Cajun music. That's what they grew up with.
Mhm.
Or other bands, like if you don't have a steel, it's not a Cajun band.
Mhm.
Or electric bass and drums. It's like that's the root. To me, triangle is the root.
Okay.
And I got to play a lot of triangle with Le Michot, and it's the most important instrument in the band because you
Right.
can make or break it. You hold the whole thing together. You're in the center. So triangle, uh, acoustic guitar, and of course accordion and fiddle. Accordion, fiddle, and triangle is Cajun music.
Mhm.
And then always get the question, what's the difference between Cajun and Zydeco? Zydeco is accordion and washboard.
Right.
In the middle, you got Creole music, quote unquote Creole music, which is accordion, fiddle, and maybe washboard. So it's like where Zydeco and Cajun meet is
Ah.
Creole, which actually is all so symbolic and appropriate. And and some people say it's all Creole. Some people say all Cajuns are Creole because we arrived in Louisiana before the 1800s, but not all Creoles are Cajun. Because the whole Creole thing, that's a whole nother podcast,
Yes.
obviously. So.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll put that on the list. Now, also, when you say Cajun music, do you have to sing in French?
That's the part I didn't get to.
Oh, sorry. Didn't
No,
mean to
no,
skip
thank you. I
ahead.
didn't. No, I didn't. I should have gotten there. So thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yes, Cajun music is in Cajun French, Louisiana French, and that's another difference between Cajun and Zydeco is that Zydeco is much more progressive. It's always following the newest trends. It doesn't believe in sticking true tradition as much because it is more worried about staying popular and relevant, which I love, which is
Mhm.
why Zydeco is so much more popular,
Mhm.
so much more well attended,
Right.
whereas Cajun music, for the most part, is more focused on carrying the tradition on, keeping the tradition on, for better or for worse.
Right.
Less progression, less evolution, and and also more tradition, which so it keeps the language, and it's really been a huge vehicle for the language. So
Mhm.
many people probably wouldn't speak French if it wasn't for the music, either to learn it, to sing it, and some people sing it and don't even understand it.
Right.
A lot of people learned the language for the music, uh, and really, I think that the music has given the language kind of celebrity status,
Yeah.
especially now. It used to be, like I said, it used to be looked down upon. I mean,
Mhm.
I've talked to old people who French is their first language, and to them, Cajun was a bad word.
Yeah. I
You
mean, my
know,
grandmother, when she came here, well, I mean, she came from Puerto Rico, but she spoke Spanish. But as soon as she came to the States, you did not, and she did not.
yep,
It was not something that she wanted to talk to. Now, my mom learned it and spoke it and was proud of it,
yep,
but then they didn't
exactly,
pass it on to us.
yep,
So it's kind of like, same thing where it's on us
totally,
to learn it.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely, yeah.
But it
It's
was
so
interesting.
many, so many uh, s- similar stories and parallel cultures, and so
Yeah.
and yeah, so the language has really been carried forward by the music, so it is an integral part of what Cajun music is.
Hmm. And so when you were playing and you got your band together and you decided to go down that road of playing Cajun music, I know you play all other sorts of music too. Um, do your kids play music?
Yeah, my kids, kind of same as Andre and I, where we grew up, um, we dabbled in music a little bit, and then all of a sudden we kind of took it on. We were teenagers for ourselves,
Hmm.
and Andre was playing blues. We moved to Baton Rouge for a few years. My dad was working there, and Andre had been learning like classic rock and blues. And in Baton Rouge, he would go to Tabby's Blues Box, and he was 15 years old. And he'd go sit in at the jams. Awesome blues guitar player. And my
Wow.
dad would have to escort him because he was too young.
Hmm.
And so I would sneak into his room while he was gone,
Hmm.
and I'd pick up his guitar and learn. And then I started learning from him by watching, and I started learning blues and like learning some of the classic rock and stuff.
Hmm.
And so my kids is kind of the same. Like one of them is playing like metal, and one of them is playing piano. He actually started at Mardi Gras because he heard the Mardi Gras song and he just figured it out on the piano. Now he started taking lessons and he started like making medleys like Mary had a little lamb plus Mardi Gras, Mary had a Mardi Gras,
Oh,
or
that's
you
funny. Oh,
know,
that's
and
cool.
like and now he's just learning stuff by ear. He's learning, and then my oldest, he's playing accordion because they needed an accordion player in the band.
Mm.
And before that, he was learning. He did some fiddle, and I forget. He did some fiddle, and then yeah, I said, well, I want y'all to take music. Y'all have a good teacher at the school, kind of like my dad did to us. Like, hey, I want y'all to take some music lessons
Hmm.
just to get exposed,
Right.
and not for him to have to, you know, you don't want to have to do it from your parents
Yeah,
necessarily.
kids don't want to learn from their
Exactly.
parents.
So when I talked to the teacher, he said, "Well, we need an accordion player." And Julian said, "Yeah, I'll play accordion." And he came back from that first lesson like so proud because obviously accordion is a big deal
Right.
here, and it's kind of it's kind of like a manly leader kind of thing, or
Hmm.
womanly, whatever it be,
Uh-huh.
a leader kind of thing. So he
Uh-huh.
came back really proud,
Aw.
and now he's playing accordion. Lou was playing metal, but then they needed a bass player in the band. They have a Cajun band at school, so he's playing bass. And then my youngest one, who plays piano, came and played triangle in the Cajun band. So we had our first gig outside of school for Lundi Gras. We played for the Courrier de Mardi Gras de Austin, and uh, and we all got to play together. And I
Oh,
played.
that's.
They needed a guitar player, so I played guitar.
They're
So
like,
yeah,
yeah, Dad, we'll take you.
yeah, it's the same kind of thing,
Hmm.
into your own, and it's music.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
It's that's the beauty of it, and that's where I think Lost Bayou Ramblers has done something a little, not to say that other people haven't done their own thing and introduced new. There's always been a lot of introduction, regardless of how traditional Cajun music has been. That's a whole nother thing I can talk about. Starting 100 years ago of
Right.
what we call tradition today.
Right.
But with the Ramblers, we needed a guitar player. Hey, Johnny Campos, would you play guitar with us? And he's shoegazer indie, and
Uh-huh.
like he doesn't play like anybody else. And
Right.
here we are over 10 years later,
Hmm.
and he still would not consider himself a Cajun musician, but has been playing in a Cajun band for 10 years. No. And then Brian Weber, who plays like jazz and hip hop and stuff, and then
Hmm.
from Lafayette, so,
Right.
and then Kirkland, who's like a punk drummer or whatever. And then
Yeah.
so, and instead of being like, no, that, I mean, okay, there's right, and then there's right.
Right.
Like, don't play the wrong chord,
Hmm.
but you can play how you want.
Yeah.
So, I think that's the beauty of of evolution, the mix of evolution and tradition.
Right. Have you ever gotten any pushback from people like saying like, "Oh,
Plenty.
yeah."
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't, it's hard to say from from being in the band, not to have an outside perspective.
Hmm.
But, when the thing about Cajun music is there's not many people pushing the envelope, being progressive, because everyone, it's more about being traditional.
Right.
And which means a lot of times playing the same songs that people play over and over, learn the standards, which, that's the same with Zydeco. You have the
Yeah.
standards, but
Hmm.
there's so many more new songs, and everyone's doing their own thing in Zydeco, and
Hmm.
Cajun music's much more the same. Here's the same repertoire of songs. And I think for us, it really came to Mammoth Waltz, which we released in 2012. And we had been a band that was our 13th year as a band. So we put in our time.
Hmm.
We put in our time of over 10 years of, hitting, and we were ultra traditional,
Okay.
kind of like Le Frère Michot,
Hmm.
where that's what I was going to say. That was when Le Frère Michot was coming up in the 80s and 90s. The norm was drums, bass, steel, fiddle, electric or acoustic guitar, and accordion. And Le Frère Michot was ultra traditional.
Mm.
So when Lost by Ramblers started, we kind of came in their model, and we started basically like that.
Hmm.
And you know the the people who were packing the clubs had the big, which is technically a rock band setup with an accordion and fiddle,
Mhm.
or a country band, whatever you want to call it. And so over the years, our triangle player added a snare, or he had actually had a washboard and a kick drum when we toured New York, and then there was like a kick drum and a snare, so like stand up kit,
Mhm.
and then stand up bass, and then someone brought an amp, and then next thing you know, we all have amps, and then we have some pedals, and then Mammoth Waltz came around in 2012, and it was, I mean, we just went for it
Right.
and said, well, we have been playing Cajun music now for Andre and I for 20 something years. And, uh, and we all have these, diverse influences as modern human being Americans from
Right.
Louisiana, whatever. And so we brought more of our outside influences into it. So, like, what do you like? What do I like?
Mhm.
You know, I think that would sound cool. Yeah, if you put a double delay on that and a phaser or whatever.
Yeah.
And we knew that we'd get some pushback.
Mhm.
We also knew that people would love it.
Yeah.
And at the time, I used to say, you know, don't be scared of what the little old Cajun man in your head is going to tell you. That's not traditional. Like, and
I
it would,
love that.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
that's what we heard. And then so at first, and always when people put out new music, it takes their fans a while to come around to it.
Right.
It's like, oh, I want your old stuff, no
Mhm.
matter who it is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so we did get a few big pushbacks, but for the most part, for every person who showed, showed us like discontentment or like, oh, judged it or whatever, we had 50 to 100 people who loved it because they wanted something new.
Right.
They were like, yeah, I never liked Cajun music until I heard such and such a song.
Mhm.
One person who is now a very popular accordion player, uh, who is in the band Holiday Playgirls, told us that she never liked Cajun music until she heard us. She calls us the Cajun gateway drug.
Ooh, that's
So
fun.
yeah, so Mammoth Waltz really opened it up, and what I think the important thing to us is that we keep it traditional
Right.
at its root,
Yes.
but it doesn't mean we can't play it like we like it.
Absolutely.
And that what I say about Lost Bayou Ramblers is that we have all this sound going on. We have 808s, we have distortion and fuzz and all kind of stuff going on. And if the power goes out, it goes from this big sound down to a traditional Cajun band. We keep playing, and it's
Right.
happened multiple times. We just keep playing.
Mhm.
Accordion fiddle, the acoustic's still chalking, the drummer can hit something.
Right.
The power comes on. It's back to Lost Bayou Ramblers,
Right.
but it's completely traditional. Like we don't have to stop.
Yeah.
And even our most progressive songs still go down to, well, this is a valse de temps, which was popular 120 years ago.
Mhm.
Now you think it's something so progressive because it's actually so old that it fell out of popularity.
Right.
So we try to reach way back and also way into the future.
Right. Well, I think you have to keep it fresh in a sense, and I like that about you're keeping you're keeping your roots, but to gain new audiences and to keep it fresh, you have to do that. You have to take chances,
Definitely.
or else you know. I mean, how do you feel about Cajun music? Where do you see it? Like, you know, it's when we were talking about this the other day, when people talk about New Orleans, it's jazz, you know. Um, but if you go outside of New Orleans into Acadiana, you have the Cajun Creole Zydeco, and you know what we're trying to do is show that it's all Louisiana's music, all of it. It's not just oh, you can only play this here or that there. So where do you think that Cajun music is headed? I mean, I know you guys are pushing it forward and getting it out to the rest of the world. Do you see people like, you know, embracing it, and do you have faith that it will continue on?
I love that. I love that question, and that it's inclusive. Cajun music and Zydeco and Creole inclusive because it is an American music. It is a Louisiana music,
Yeah.
and it is an Acadiana music. But to answer that question, I think that it's important to first start and say that what is Cajun and Creole culture?
Right.
It is a melange and a coming together of all kind of cultures. And so it was never one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there is like, so when we talk tradition, I'll use an example musically, you know, Cajun music, I mean, say the culture, you have Spanish, French, Cajun, Acadian, Italian, Irish, African, Native American, on and on.
Mm-hmm.
All that is part of what Cajun is
Yeah.
because it's not just, Cajun comes from Acadian,
Mm-hmm.
but it's has like now if you go to Acadie in Nova Scotia, it's like if you took all those other things away,
Mm-hmm.
you'd end up with Acadian.
Right.
So that's the difference is that they don't in Nova Scotia, they don't have all the other things I mentioned.
Mm.
And you have the German accordion, you have the fiddle that they say was possibly one of the only things that they were able to take with them from the deportation of Nova Scotia.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have the guitar, which I mean we could call it Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
at its root. We have washboard and triangle, which are like uh, percussions that you use what you got.
Right.
You have the drums,
Mm-hmm.
and this is where I'm trying to get. And this is where it starts getting interesting because you have like the old Cajun music, which originally was fiddles. It was
Right.
all fiddles,
Mm-hmm.
and we luckily have a little glimpse of that with the Dennis McGee recordings from 1920s, 100 years ago, and it was the tail end of that. By that time, the accordion had started becoming popular, and it was available at Jewish merchant stores. German accordions sold in these Jewish merchant stores, and it was loud, it was rhythmic, people loved it. It started taking over.
Mm-hmm.
So already there's a change in tradition.
Right.
Where it was a fiddle music, now it's accordion based. Now the fiddle has to follow the accordion
Mm-hmm.
because it's more powerful and the accordion has limited notes. So the accordion can't play everything a fiddle can play. So the limiting factor is the accordion. And then you have, traditional Cajun music, accordion, fiddle, triangle. Well, in the 1930s, uh, right after this Americanization period, accordion fell out of popularity and it started turning into swing music, Cajun swing from Texas. It was more Americanized.
Mm.
Societies were opening up. It wasn't so French based oil industry. All these things were changing post war, uh, World War One, and so bands started singing in English and French. They started less accordions, more fiddles, steel, Texas swing, but at the same time, they were bringing New Orleans music in. And that's the thing. It was never not influenced
Mm.
by New Orleans.
Okay.
I mean, it has its own. We obviously have our own deep roots
Mm-hmm.
and from many years and decades and generations in Acadiana, but for us, all my people came from New Orleans.
Right.
My Italian, my Spanish, my French, my Acadian, my Creole, my everything for us came from New Orleans
Mm-hmm.
for one way or another
Right.
over time.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 1930s, during this period, Leo Swallow from Ville Platte, who was one of the first recording artists, played with Mayus Lafleur, accordion fiddle, when it was those first recordings that were accordion and fiddle and guitar. A few years later, he's the first one to bring drums. And he gets a drummer fresh off the New Orleans scene, and he's playing drums, and it sounds like he's trying to figure it out. And he's not playing the boom chick beat that you hear today.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing free, like New Orleans style drums.
Right.
And Leo Swallow became huge.
Mm-hmm.
And he and the Hackberry Ramblers, like they had big giant bands and they were playing all over the place. Hackberry Ramblers ended up being the oldest band in the land,
Yeah, I
you
just learned
know.
about them last
Yeah,
night.
exactly. We got to
Mhm,
play his last show with Lutter and Darbone. He was 95 years old, the oldest band in America.
mhm.
Ben Samuel,
Yep. Ben just
and
sent me a bunch of stuff, my homework.
yeah, exactly. And that was his. Got to play his last performance from the 20s,
Wow.
30s, all the way to 2005. Same person,
Right.
active that whole time.
Mhm.
And they played Cajun music. They made Jolie Blanc popular, and it became the only song in French to make the national charts. Well, what I'm trying to get at is that in this time of the 20s and 30s, they were being very innovative. They weren't they weren't saying, "Oh, we have to keep it this way." They were trying to keep it popular so they could get more people in, and they wanted to do the next big thing because they wanted to be they wanted to be successful.
Right.
And they were also competing with rock and roll, and they were competing with other, and so they were incorporating rock and roll and all this.
Right.
And then fast forward to now, well, okay, we're in danger of losing the language and the music and tradition. Well, let's get ultra traditional,
Yeah.
which means, oh, let's go back to these standards. But in its essence, it's always been influenced by New Orleans. It's always been influenced by Texas. It's always been influenced
Mhm.
and has been a growing thing. And so I think that's what we try to keep in mind is like, if it doesn't grow, it's going to die.
Yeah.
And you can't just keep playing the same songs because then the young kids are going to be playing the same way. Because it's not as good as the original.
Right.
And the young kids are going to be like, "Well, I've heard that. I've heard that. I don't want to go there." But then
Mhm.
you excite them, you get something new. Who wants to buy the same thing over and over? You want to, like, if you're buying a record, you
Right.
want to hear something new and
Mhm.
you want to be inspired. And so that's where we focus on is inspiring ourselves and hopefully other people like it.
Yeah. I mean, it's so important, and the fact that you're not saying, like, you're building off of that, what came before you, and I think that's the thing that we have to keep alive. We don't forget it,
Yes.
we incorporate it,
Yes.
and that's the most important thing, and which brings me to, the museum, the Louisiana Music and Heritage Museum, is what we're trying to do is tell that story, make that story relevant, and so people know, where this music came from, where these musicians learned this, and how people can see how it's grown, how the music's grown. But in essence, know that it's all of Louisiana. Like, we can say it a million times and it sounds, over and over again. It's a gumbo. It's, putting in what you have to the pot and, seeing what you get out of it. Um, so, do you, what challenges as a musician playing now um, do you face when it comes to fair pay and long term stability?
I think the music scene and the music industry has been constantly changing, and of course, being a Cajun French band, like I love singing in French. I don't want to sing in English.
Right.
I used to sing in English in high school, and it was hard. You know, and it was like, and then when I learned French and I started singing, like I found my voice,
Wow.
and so to me, and I love the language. To me, it's like always been super important. I love writing in French. But people don't understand it. It's uh it's a it's a minority, like so people can't connect with the lyrics and such. And even in Louisiana, there's a very limited number of people who understand what we're singing. So our specifically from our perspective, you know, people appreciate it as music, but there's a linguistic disconnect.
Mhm.
And so uh, luckily, Louisiana, New Orleans, especially for us, not for most Cajun bands, but we have New Orleans is I would call my artistic home from the early days of Lost by Ramblers playing at the Apple Barrel and I used to play there by myself with a drum,
Oh,
and start Coco Roby show would come in and make me play Saut Crapaud that his grandma would sing him,
oh, wow.
and it was just
Mhm.
and it's just like that is, it's part of it all.
Hmm.
Uh, but we're lucky to be able to play a lot in New Orleans and to play a lot in Acadiana, and we're lucky to be able to play outside in America, Canada, France. But I would say that the fair pay and the financial challenges of it, that it's art and that you have to be creative, you have to stand behind, you have to be consistent, you have to work your butt off, and no one can expect, without any excitement and the challenge that comes with it, should expect to be like, well, because I do this, I should be taken care of. Because for better or for worse, in America, it is a free enterprise system, and that includes art. You can go to France and you can get paid to be a musician. It doesn't mean that your art's gonna grow and be any better. So I think with the beauty of being an American band is that if you want to succeed, you have to make it work. You have to take those creative risks. You have to make those choices and not be like, well, I just have to go play a gig and I'm gonna get paid. No, you're gonna hit a dead end.
Right.
And we've had to deal with that in the Cajun and Zydeco scene nationally, because we used to go try to play these dances. It wasn't a happening scene because it was something from the 80s that was still kind of, from the folk scene from the 60s and 70s that was still alive, but was in and still is around a little bit, but nowhere near where it used to be.
Hmm.
But so that has been part of the route of Cajun Zydeco musicians to make a living
Hmm.
and tour and play outside Louisiana, completely different scene. But we have had to, and we have focused on playing to people who don't know our music
Right.
and to turn on people to our music and Cajun music and Zydeco music through taking that risk and playing CBGBs and playing Hank's Saloon and playing Amnesia in San Francisco and playing these places that do not have Cajun Zydeco music. So it wasn't the easy route, but in the end, it's worth it because we we have expanded our people that like our music for what it is,
Hmm.
and while still being able to play traditional venues in Louisiana, and same thing in New Orleans, go both ways. So I think you really have to be creative and you really have to work hard at it. I do think that we're spoiled here in Louisiana, so people have a hard time accepting to pay a big cover charge,
Yes.
which it takes to be a musician. So I think that that's something we have to work on here in Louisiana is uh, people valuing the music. But when you get it for free all the time,
Right.
you're like, I'll pay him $20 for a cocktail, but I don't want to pay $20 to go see a band because I can see him next week. But it's not exactly like that. So it's an interesting mindset that I think we have to work on here in Louisiana.
Right. What do you think this museum, when it's built, that will have, music 365 days a year, days a year, say, fair wages for musicians, setting the standard for other places to look and see, like, hey, these are our musicians. We have to keep them around. We have to, support them and give them what they deserve. Do you think that's something that, you know, people will embrace?
I think so. I think that is such an important role that needs to be embraced locally, and to show people that, for one, to educate people on the musics, where they came from, how long it's taken them. They didn't just appear. They're not just, we don't take them for granted, and that they deserve a platform, an international platform in our locality where people can, celebrate the musics as for what they are and give them kind of that status, other than, oh yeah, you can go see the thing down the road. Oh yeah, it's always there. And then, you come into a place like this, like kind of like the Grammys have done for our genre. It's like, okay, like I kind of like this. the same thing. It's like it gives the culture a Cadillac.
Mm.
Instead of being like, well, you got an old beat up truck that you're trying to keep going,
Yeah.
it gives you a Cadillac and it gives you some celebrity, which turns changes other people's opinion about it.
Hmm.
And I think the interesting thing about locality, just like Clifton Chenier said in Opelousas, he said, "Y'all the last people to recognize me. Thank you for this honor, but y'all are pretty late in the game." And I think that a lot of local people, no fault of anyone's own, but we're spoiled
Yes.
and we expect it.
Yes.
And then when you get embraced outside, that's what happened to us. We got embraced in New York. We got embraced in New Orleans before Lafayette started hiring us.
Right.
So, and and I think it's the same thing here. Is that when people come to a big museum and they see the grandeur of it all together, and that it brings it all together, and it's not like this music and that music. It's Louisiana music, and
Right.
Louisiana music is amazing. And it doesn't matter if it's rock and roll or jazz or second line or Cajun and Zydeco or all kind of genres that are from here in Louisiana. We all come from the same soil, and we all come from a similar social upbringing. And another part about it is that it's kind of like some of the festivals here in New Orleans. That the great thing about playing some of these festivals here in New Orleans is that it exposes you to people from around the world. So
Right.
then when you go travel around the world, they've already seen you and they come to your shows.
Hmm.
So if people come to this music heritage experience and they see you perform there,
Hmm.
then they hear your name when you're traveling on the East Coast, West Coast, wherever you're going, and they're like, "Oh, I remember seeing them there,"
Right.
and they'll go. So it really opens up uh, exposure, notoriety, and most importantly, value.
Yeah. You just answered my next question in that. Why do you think now is the right time for a world class Louisiana music experience?
I think now is the right time because it didn't happen yesterday. you know, it didn't happen yesterday, and let's hope it doesn't happen 10 years from now because we need it now. We need the support. All the cultures, all the musics. We need all the support and help we can get. And the reason people love coming to New Orleans and coming to Lafayette is primarily the music. The food, yes,
Yeah,
many
but
other things,
hmm,
but it's the music.
yeah,
And the value, it's so hard to put a value to music because,
right.
it's like, look, I'm going to sing Jolie Blonde, and then it's gone. You don't get to take
Yeah.
that home. You don't get
You,
to take Jolie Blanc home. And it's so ethereal. It's so momentary, but it's where's the value? Did it make you feel better? Did it make you connect with a hard time in your life? Did it get you through a hard time in your life? And there's so much value in music that's so hard to put a value on.
right.
And that's what we need, is to be able to show people how valuable it is. And this is definitely the time to do it because we have so many other things we're all facing all the time that, as a society, as musicians, there's no better time than now for sure.
And in one sentence, what impact do you believe the LMHE will have on the future of Louisiana culture?
The LMHE will bring an extra spotlight to the culture and allow people to see, hear, and experience Louisiana music on a worldwide stage right here at home.
Um, Thank you for coming and talking. Thank you for being a part of the Louisiana Music and Heritage Experience. Thank you for keeping your roots and your heritage alive and the heritage of others and be, willing to, experiment with it so that you can bring it to a wider audience. And yeah, I mean, I think it's great what y'all are out there doing. And I think that it's really important that people need to see that and um, compensate that.
Thank you, and I feel so fortunate myself to be able to do that.
Yeah.
To be able to create, to be supported in creating. And if I didn't live in proximity to New Orleans and in Lafayette, I don't think I would have had the ability to live my artistic dream. And so I feel so fortunate to be able to, and that, people support us, like you said, progressing and bringing new expressions. And like, it means so much to me. And I find myself fortunate every day to do this and to be able to raise my family doing so.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Monique.
And a call to action is if you would like to learn more about the Louisiana Music and Heritage Experience, please visit us on lmhe.live. You can donate to us on our website. You can also become a LMHE ambassador. We have Funk Fest tickets are available now also online for the Funk Fest in October, which will be spotlighting Cajun and Creole. And you can also follow us on our social media. Our Instagram is at LMHE NOLA, and our YouTube channel is at LMHE _live. Thank you.